Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to my channel. It is Poetry Thursday, the greatest of days on BookTube. But we're not just celebrating poetry on Thursdays this month. No, I am going to, in fact, attempt to read a poem every single day in the month of March from the best poems of the English language, selected and with commentary by Harold Bloom. So, we have one of the greatest of all of poets in the English language, Edmund Spenser. A poet who's underappreciated by most, and he's not underappreciated by Harold Bloom here. Harold Bloom writes a ton of commentary on Edmund Spenser, and it's all extremely delightful. I enjoyed it tremendously. And he picks three rather lengthy things to share from Spenser. One of them, an excerpt from one of the Faerie Queens, which is what I'm going to be reading to you today. So this is the Gardens of Adonis, is kind of what the little sub area is titled from here. She brought her to her joyous paradise, where most she wons, when she on earth does dwell. So fair a place as nature can devise, whether in Paphos or Cytherean hill, or it in Cnidus be, I wot not well. But well I wot by trial that this same all other pleasant places doth excel, and called is by her lost lover's name, the Garden of Adonis, far renowned by fame. In that same garden all the goodly flowers, wherewith Dame Nature doth her beautify, and decks the girlonds of her paramours, are fetched. There is the first seminary of all things, that are born to live and die, according to their kinds. Long work it were here to account the endless progeny of all the weeds that bud and blossom there, but so much doth need, must needs be counted here. It sitted was in a fruitful soil of old, and girt in with two walls on either side, the one of iron, the other of bright gold, that none might through break nor overstride, and double gates it had which opened wide, by which both in and out men moten pass. Thon fair and fresh, the other old and dried. Old genius, the porter of them was, old genius, the which a double nature has. He letteth in, he letteth out to wend all that to come in the world desire. 1,000 naked babes attend about him day and night, which do require that he with fleshy weeds would them attire, such as him list, such as eternal fate hath ordained hath. He clothes with sinful mire, and sendeth forth to live in mortal state, till they again return back by the hinder gate. After that they again return been, they in that garden planted be again, and grow afresh as they had never seen fleshly corruption, nor mortal pain. Some 1,000 years so doon they there remain, and then of him are clad with other hue, or sent into the changeful world again, till thither they return, where first they grew, so like a wheel around they run from old to new. And needs their gardener to set or sow, to plant or prune, for of their own accord all things, as they created were, do grow. And yet remember well the mighty word which first was spoken by the Almighty Lord, that bade them to increase and multiply. No, nay, do they need with water of the ford, or of the clouds to moisten their roots dry, for in themselves eternal moisture they imply. Infinite shapes of creatures there are bred, and uncouth forms which none yet ever know, and every sort is in a sundry bed, set by itself and ranked in comely row. Some fit for reasonable souls to do, some made for beasts, some made for birds to wear, and all the fruitful spawn of fishes hue in endless ranks upon the enranged were, that seemed the ocean could not contain them there. Daily they grow, and daily forth are sent into the world, it to replenish more, yet is the stock not lessened nor spent, but still remains in everlasting store, as it first was created was of yore. For in the wide womb of the world there lies, in hateful darkness and in deep horror, a huge eternal chaos, which supplies the substances of nature's fruitful progenies. All things from thence do their first being fetch, and borrow matter whereof they are made, which when as form and feature it doth catch, becomes a body, and doth then invade the state of life out of the grisly shade. That substance is etern, and biteth so, nay, when life decays and form does fade, doth it consume and into nothing go, but changed is, and often altered to and fro. The substance is not changed nor altered, but the only form and outward fashion, for every substance is conditioned to change her hue, and sundry forms to don, meet for her temper and complexion, for forms are variable and decay, by course of kind and by occasion, and that fair flower of beauty fades away, as doth the lily fresh before the sunny ray. Great enemy to it, and to all the rest, that in the Garden of Adonis springs, is wicked Time, who with his scythe addressed does mow the flowering herbs and goodly things, and all their glory to the ground do flings. Where they do wither and are foully marred, he flies about and with his flaggy wings beats down both leaves and buds without regard, nay, ever pity may relent his malice hard. Yet pity often did the gods relent to see so fair things marred and spoiled quite, and their great mother Venus did lament the loss of her dear brood, her dear delight. Her heart was pierced with pity at the sight, when walking through the garden them she spied, yet naught she find redress for such despite, for all that lives is subject to that law, all things decay in time, and to their end do draw. But were it not that time their troubler is, all that in this delightful garden grows should happy be and have immortal bliss, for here all plenty and all pleasure flows, and sweet love gentle fits amongst them throws, without fell rancor or fond jealousy. Frankly each paramour his leman knows, each bird his mate, nay, any does envy their goodly merriment and gay felicity. There is continual spring and harvest there, continual, both meeting at one time, for both the boughs do laughing blossoms bear, and with fresh colours deck the wanton prime, and eke attonce the heavy trees they climb, which seem to labour under their fruit's load, the whiles the joyous birds make their pastime amongst the shady leaves their sweet abode, and their true loves without suspicion tell abroad. Right in the midst of that paradise there stood a stately mount, on whose round top a gloomy grove of myrtle trees did rise, whose shady boughs sharp steel did never lop, nor wicked beasts their tender buds did crop, but like a girlon compassed the height, and from their fruitful sides sweet gum did drop, that all the ground with precious dew belight, threw forth most dainty odours and most sweet delight. And in the thickest covert of that shade there was a pleasant arbour, not by art, but of the tree's own inclination made, which knitting their rank branches part to part with wanton ivy twine entrailed athwart, and eglantine and caprifol among, fashioned above within their inmost part, that neither Phoebus' beams could through them throng, nor Aeolus' sharp blast could work them any wrong. And all about grew every sort of flower, to which sad lovers were transformed of yore, fresh Hyacinthus, Phoebus' paramour, and dearest love, foolish Narcissus, that likes the watery shore, sad Amaranthus, made a flower but late, sad Amaranthus, in whose purple gore meseems I see Amyntas' wretched fate, to whom sweet poet's verse hath given endless date. There wont fair Venus often to enjoy her dear Adonis' joyous company, and reap sweet pleasure of the wanton boy. There yet, some say, in secret he does lie, lapped in flowers and precious spicery, by her hid from the world and from the skill of Stygian's gods, which do her love envy, but she herself, whenever that she will, possesseth him, and of his sweetness takes her fill. And sooth it seems, they say, for he may not for ever die, and ever buried be in baleful night, where all things are forgot, albeit he subject to mortality, yet is eternity in mutability, and by succession made perpetual, transformed oft and changed diversely. For him the father of all forms they call, therefore needs mote he live, that living gives to all. There now he liveth in eternal bliss, joying his goddess, and of her enjoyed, ne feareth he henceforth that foe of his, which with his cruel tusk him deadly cloyed. For that wild boar, the which him once annoyed, she firmly hath imprisoned for aye, that her sweet love his malice mote avoid, in a strong rocky cave, which is, they say, hewn underneath that mount, that none him loosen may. There now he lives in everlasting joy with many of the gods in company, which thither haunt, and with the winged boy, sporting himself in safe felicity, who when he hath with spoils and cruelty ransacked the world, and in the woeful hearts of many wretches set his trumpets high, thither resorts, and laying his sad darts aside, with fair Adonis plays his wanton parts. And his true love fair Psyche with him plays, fair Psyche to him lately reconciled, after long troubles and unmeet upbrays, with which his mother Venus her reviled, and eke himself her cruelly exiled. But now in steadfast love and happy state she with him lives, and hath him born a child, pleasure that doth both gods and men a great, pleasure the daughter of Cupid and Psyche late. Hither great Venus brought this infant fair, the younger daughter of Chrysogone, and unto Psyche with great trust and care committed her, a fostered to be, and trained up in true femininity, who no less carefully her tendered than her own daughter Pleasure, to whom she made her companion, and her lessoned in all the lore of love and goodly womanhead, and which, when she to perfect rightness grew, of grace and beauty noble paragon, she brought her forth into the world's view, to be the ensample of true love alone, and lodestar of all chaste affection, to all fair ladies that do live on ground. To Faerie court she came, where many one admired her goodly haver, and found his feeble heart wide launched with love's cruel wound. But she to none of them her love did cast, save to the noble knight Sir Scudamore, to whom her loving heart she linked fast, and faithful love to abide for evermore. And for his dearest sake endured sore trouble of a heinous enemy, who her would forced have for lore her former love and steadfast loyalty, as ye may elsewhere read that rueful history. Sorry for the terrible reading, but hopefully that gives you at least a taste of Spenser and the Faerie Queene and what awaits you. The verbiage in there is just mildly archaic. It's no more difficult than trying to decipher through Shakespeare. So if you are comfortable with Shakespeare, then you should be able to find Spenser pretty accessible. And I would imagine there are probably those out there that have more modernized Spenser's writing, or at least have glosses and notes, such as in this volume. There's a little carrots in there that will indicate that over to the side there's what this word actually means. And there aren't nearly as many as you would think. But Edmund Spenser is a delightful poet. You certainly, if you're interested at all, should check out the first of the Faerie Queens. Harold Bloom says it's definitely his most popular one, his greatest achievement. And but that does not lessen in any way the ones that follow after. And it's really, really enjoyable. I plan to revisit it. I probably will be revisiting it sooner rather than later, because spending a whole evening reading a whole bunch of Edmund Spenser and about Edmund Spenser has me wanting to go read even more Edmund Spenser, which is a great thing, because I think everything Edmund Spenser. ever wrote on my shelf. So I'm excited to dive in some more after I clean up a couple of other things I'm working my way through. But I'm looking forward to continuing poetry every day. Tomorrow we will have Sir Walter Raleigh. So that's what I'm going to be reading today on Thursday, because I'm reading a day ahead and then filming. And then you can also follow along on Instagram. I'll post a picture of what I'm going to be, basically what you'll be able to find on Poetry Thursday, or Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because it's going to be poetry every single day of the week for the month of March, as long as I keep this up. And I'm excited to do so. On BookTube, it's March of the Mammoths. Hello, Mammoth. This is over 900 pages long. And at the conclusion of Spenser, I'm at 97. And almost 40 of that was just on Edmund Spenser and his poems in there. So I just had a ton of Spenser. And I'm regret none of it. So I hope you have a great rest of your day on Poetry Thursday. Sorry, this is getting rambling. I'm filming this late at night ahead of time so that it'll be up early in the morning for a change. That way I don't have to do a car video as I've done more often than I'd like to on Poetry Thursdays. So have a great Poetry Thursday. I look forward to seeing what you are reading for Poetry Thursday, and undoubtedly it'll be read better than I read this tonight.